Let's bring in Ambassador John Bolton. He's been right in that room in the UN. He's the former U.S. ambassador to the United Nations, now a senior fellow at the American Enterprise Institute. All right, we don't have shall I say, the details here, but we have some broad strokes. What do you expect will be in this resolution?
Well, I don't think really much is going to change. You know, no less an authority than the New York Times this morning said that this resolution simply repackaged, their word, a lot of existing resolutions. I think there are some marginal improvements. Obviously, whenever you have a ministerial level meeting of the Security Council, that signifies importance. But I think this is largely a symbolic move.
Well, let me push back here. They say a couple of things. They're going to work harder to disrupt the oil pipelines, which have been a huge source of revenue for ISIS. ISIS has been raping the lands of antiquities. Okay, they've been selling those antiquities, and they've been making money on that. They say they're going after that part of the money trail. And they are also kidnapping people and then releasing them after people pay ransoms. This seems a little more detailed than what you're saying here.
No, I don't think so. Those elements have all been in prior resolutions, and I think you have to remember sort of what the Security Council does. It says things, and then events move on.
Well, you were part of it, not necessarily the Security Council, but that's frustrating, I would imagine, especially considering there are a lot of things frustrating about the United Nations. Article 5 would mean that we should have all piled in and attacked Syria, and certainly helped France after France was attacked. France, a member of the United Nations.
Right. Well, now, I spent a lot of time in the Security Council. I used to say that the ambassadors in New York had a slogan, which is, "We never fail." So it doesn't matter whether much is actually accomplished or, as in this case, this is a very formal meeting. Nothing is going to happen in that room that hasn't been scripted before. I don't deny that raising the symbolism of ISIS as a terror threat can be important, but unless there's follow-up, and obviously that remains to be seen, there's no reason to think that a new resolution will accomplish much more than the series of earlier resolutions.
As I said, that's depressing. I want to give you this breaking news, Ambassador Bolton. It has been confirmed through Fox that a law enforcement source is saying that Enrique Marquez, this is the man who bought the guns for the two San Bernardino shooting suspects, has been arrested and is currently in federal custody. We're told that the charges have been finalized and that we're waiting. We can expect a release coming out about them from the Department of Justice in the next hour or so. Looks like they've got at least one part of this puzzle.
Well, it's an incredibly significant move, not for the least of which reasons is that Enrique Marquez, as the name implies, is not a typical Islamic terrorist suspect. So I think both because of the pressure now that law enforcement can put on him to cut a deal, to avoid jail, to in effect to turn state's evidence, but also what he can tell us about how he came from being a Catholic Mexican-American to being an Islamic radical, I think is extremely important for us to understand.
Yeah, he seems like a lost soul who found his way by converting to Islam and then, of course, hooking up with these evildoers. I'm a little surprised, going back to what we're expecting from the United Nations, that they say we will now put ISIS on the same level as far as threats are concerned as al-Qaeda. Why wasn't ISIS already there?
Well, probably for the reason that the United States wasn't pushing for it. After all, the president a year or so ago had called ISIS the JV, so there's no reason for it to happen. But also, bear in mind, for 30 years now, the United Nations has never agreed on a comprehensive definition of international terrorism. They've designated individual groups, al-Qaeda, now ISIS, but there's a real disagreement within the body that has prevented effective action.
They're too busy beating up on Israel. Yeah.
Well, that takes a lot of time, and if not Israel, then the United States. We're a good target, too.
Yeah, wasting time on those two targets. Ambassador John Bolton, a pleasure to have you. Thank you very much.